What is the oddest thing you thought was okay, normal, and ended up being a medical problem? I got sick one weekend. Fever, chills, swollen lymph nodes in my neck etc. By Monday morning it had gone away. Except one lymph node returned to its normal size and the other did not. I felt fine and was in no pain, so I didn't worry about it. Some months later, it's still swollen and I've developed a mild, persistent sore throat. Very mild pain, like when you've snored all night and wake up with a dry, sore throat. But you get something to drink and it goes away, except mine didn't go away. So I go to see an ear, nose and throat guy, who sticks a scope of some sort up my nose and down my throat, not sure how that works, but whatever. He sees some reason for concern, but isn't sure what it is. He sends me for a scan, then sends me for a scan with contrast, then sends me for a biopsy, and it's throat cancer. After much consulting with a sizable team of cancer specialists, they tell me that I have a protein in my blood, called P17, ERK, and that because of that protein my prognosis is good. But since I am otherwise strong and healthy, they are going to take a very aggressive approach and give me their harshest regimen. So, on the one hand that sounded good. On the other hand, not so much. I asked what caused this cancer. I was told that they can't be certain, but it is typically caused by exposure to HPV, which is the human papilloma virus. Remember that weekend I was sick? Was that it? Anyway, remember when Michael Douglas embarrassed his wife by claiming the throat cancer he got was from performing cunnilingus? Well, he wasn't full of shit. Apparently I had munched some tainted poon and suffered the consequences. End result, after a couple months of daily radiation treatments and more chemo than I ever want again, I was told the cancer was in remission. Yay, but there was something in my lower abdomen on that last scan that bore looking into. Multiple colonoscopies and another biopsy later, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. Well, that sucks. But the throat cancer showed no signs of spreading. The colon cancer was a completely independent development. My layman's guess would be from drinking potable water tainted with diesel fuel while serving aboard ship while I was in the Navy. The good news was that the colon cancer was easily removed, along with my colon, by a single surgery. Samples from 18 surrounding lymph nodes showed no signs of it spreading either. No radiation or chemo were required. And I was grateful for that because the first time was rough, and left me anemic, with hyperthyroidism, lost about 70 pounds, cause I wasn't able to eat for about 10 weeks, and have basically had no energy or stamina since. Still, I'm alive, and all good, right? Maybe not. Just had my annual physical and my PSA was high. It was 0.3 last year, and 13.2 this year. This is indicative of a prostate problem. Might be nothing, might be something. In any event, I'm off to the urologist next week and my doctor cannot rule out that another adventure in oncology might be in my future. I used to joke about having throat cancer and colon cancer, saying I'd have much preferred testicular cancer and colon cancer to they could have got me coming and going. Now, it seems maybe they did. Chin up though, right? I'm currently undefeated versus cancer and that establishes a trend. Weird confusing epilepsy club. I made my entire family think I was having a stroke by having my first focal seizure, while awake, go into status epilepticus. My symptoms almost perfectly match it since half my body goes numb and hard to control along with slurred speech and lowered cognitive function until the seizure is over. The doctors had no idea what to do with me and I got to take a vacation in the hospital with a DR House style investigation going on. General stomach pain that I dismissed as perhaps constipation, but which would, every few years or so, send me to emergency worrying that it was my appendix. I was kicked out of emergency departments at different hospitals multiple times, because it was not. I moved to a new city and was lucky enough to score a decent family doctor who took it seriously. She told me she was rather impressed with the amount of referred pain I was having and that I should go straight to emergency. I replied that there was not a hope in hell I would subject myself to that kind of humiliation again. No way. She sent me for a CAT scan and lo and behold, it was my appendix. She referred me to a surgeon, and on the day of my surgery no one in the hospital seemed particularly interested in my condition. I think most of the medical staff thought I was having unnecessary surgery though, curiously, they were much nicer to me afterward. I recall a lot of people standing over me in the recovery room. The surgeon called me to come in for a meeting a couple of weeks later, and when I walked into his office he had an odd expression on his face. He told me my appendix was many times the normal size, probably because it had been infected and healed over the years, building up scar tissue. He asked me if I minded if he wrote it up in a medical paper or a textbook. I can't remember exactly which. He taught at the university. I gather at the time, grumbling appendixes were a bit of a unicorn and there had been much debate over whether they were real. So I guess my appendix settled that argument in the medical community once and for all. Losing weight suddenly got a little easier, and I assumed it was due to my efforts. Happy with my success, I buckled down harder. Funny how it's easy to keep being good when you're actually seeing results. I lost more. It actually got to be almost easy. I thought I was doing such a great job. Turns out it was cancer. I guess I should have known something was up, but I honestly thought I was just doing a really great job with my diet and exercise. Had 4 surgeries and treatment and I'm doing well. Now I'm on meds with all kinds of side effects, including weight gain. Yay. But I'm alive, and so much better off than many others. I've only gained a little bit back, despite working really hard not to. I'd have these really minor facial twitches, like a single small muscle in my upper lip or eyebrow. Nothing even severe enough to be visible by others. However, they'd last for a few weeks straight, even while I was trying to sleep. I didn't think twice about it. They always went away on their own. After all, after I suddenly went blind in my left eye and got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I connected the dots. Edit. Facial twitches are normal. Just because you have twitches often doesn't mean you have a problem, especially if you don't have any other reason to believe you have multiple sclerosis or any other disease. My twitches were constant for weeks. And even then, there are other, less serious, and probably more likely, things that can cause that. Please don't let my comments stress you out. As a kid I had anxiety and my heart would race fast. It felt like a hummingbird in my chest and would abruptly pause and resume a normal pace after a few minutes. At age 23 I had a bad reaction to a tricyclic antidepressant called imipramine and was rushed to the hospital. They ran an EKG and that rapid heart rate was a congenital defect known as Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Basically I had an accessory or second electrical system in my heart that would cause a short circuit occasionally and my heart rate would skyrocket. It was cured via a procedure using radio waves to form scar tissue around the accessory node because the impulse could not conduct through the tissue. No problem since. I almost cried the first time I tried medication for ADHD. My mind was so quiet and peacefully dit. There's a lot of questions in the replies. I'll try to answer a few here. I'm also on mobile, so sorry lol. When did I get diagnosed and how? I think I was like 20. I was able to strongman my way through an associate's degree without knowing I had ADHD. This was during COVID. My career started shortly after. A few months later, I hit the worst period of burnout in my life. I was so forgetful I was terrified I was developing early dementia. I took so many naps I was scared I had narcolepsy. I straight up did not see other cars when I was driving. I lost things frequently and I couldn't keep up with laundry or dishes for the life of me. I was miserable. On my great new job. 8 hours a day at the computer, work from home. Trying to make myself get something done was almost physically painful. I just kept wandering away from my desk. I was so distraught I finally mentioned it to my doctor. I had originally made the appointment for something else, but as our time ran out I decided to throw it out there. I was worried she'd think I was stupid given how many people try to self-diagnose via the internet, but I had really identified with a lot of content I saw online. She gave me a referral to see the psychiatrist. I had heard a lot of stories about people who had to fight for their diagnosis, but my appointment with the psychiatrist was great. We just kinda talked for a bit about the symptoms I was experiencing and she was like, "Yup, that's ADHD." She also said that she sees cases like me all the time, kids who do okay undiagnosed until they reach their tipping point and just completely fizzle out. Especially girls. Women, what medication do I take? I'm on 30 milligrams of Vyvanse now. While it has been life-changing, there's some side effects I'm going to bring up at my next appointment. I'm not sure if I'm on the right medication or dose. To my understanding, medication should just make you feel like you but more productive, but I'm having problems with irritability and my husband accidentally let it slip that I'm more fun when I don't take it, and is not wrong. Sometimes I miss my pre-Vivance personality. He still supports me 100% though, medicated or unmedicated. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for reading. I don't have access to a therapist, so typing my experience here is kinda therapeutic. I had headaches constantly as a child, but it seemed normal, so I didn't know I should tell my doctor. Finally, at a doctor visit, I was talking about how my stomach, I have always had a lot of anxiety, and I was scared I was going to give myself an ulcer because it hurt so much, and head hurt all the time. And when they asked questions, they told me I was just perpetually dehydrated and needed to drink more water. When I was a kid, we were never told to drink water, and water bottles weren't really a thing. I went to get an orthodontic consultation when I was about 12, and when I opened my mouth, my jaw cracked, crunched like usual, and the orthodontist and assistant were horrified. I didn't know other people could hear my jaw. I just thought everyone heard their own jaw inside their head, and it was normal that it made sounds, like how you can hear yourself chew, but generally, other people can't. Turns out, I had a really bad case of TMJ. I thought kiwi fruit just burned your mouth, then I realized I was mildly allergic. Thanks for listening to Once Up on a Time in Reddit, and make sure to like and subscribe.